There are 7.4 billion people in the world. Which one is your favorite? Picture that person's face. See that familiar smile. More than anything else in the world, what do you want to be in the life of that person? Becoming what we want to be in the lives of others requires us to face fears like rejection, failure, and inadequacy, and invites us to sacrifice the safety of how others perceive us. But for the sake of your favorite person in the world, and for the rest of the 7.4 billion, I have an invitation for you. Have the courage to envision the world as it could be, and then have the courage to amplify, invest, and serve to create that world, starting with your favorite person.
What I liked in Stosh's talk was that it was raw experience and raw feeling, and tender at the same time.
What I really liked about Stosh's talk is he was really well prepared. Like, you could tell the structure of what he was talking about was really meant something to him. I left there saying, okay, I'm energized. I know what to, was inspired by what he had to say.
Have you ever seen a super fan at a school or community event? The person who sits in the front row, takes too many pictures, and cheers and claps more loudly than anyone else. Raise your hand if you've ever been annoyed by a super fan. Okay, true confession time. Raise your hand if you've ever been the super fan. And super fans have courage. Why? Because they are amplifying. They've sacrificed the safety of how others perceive them. People who have the courage to amplify create the world as it could be by being more of who they are. Creating the world as it could be also invites us to have the courage to invest, to offer our best, because only investment guarantees our impact, both individually and organizationally. Individually, this is how we achieve goals and help others to achieve theirs. Organizationally, it's how we enrich the world with our products and our services. But because courage starts with our favorite person in the world, can we really live with ourselves if we invest less than our best? Of course not. And that is why we must also have the courage to serve. Most of us have keys in our pockets right now. Keys open doors. They grant access. We all have metaphorical keys also. Our strengths, our education, our collected experiences. Each of these things enables us not only to achieve, but also to serve. Too often, though, we stop at individual achievement. Too often we say to ourselves, who am I to influence in that way? Too often we say to ourselves, surely someone is better equipped to meet that need than I am. Friends, please, stop being modest. Start being generous. Stop envisioning yourself and your gifts as less than adequate to make a difference. Start claiming your influence. We need you to amplify, to be more of who you are. We need you to invest, to offer your best. We need you to serve, to claim your influence. We need you to make copies of your keys and distribute them to as many people as possible, starting with your favorite person in the world. My grandfather used to say to me, "Mr. Walsh, you're one of my favorite people." He had dozens of favorite people, but that never bothered me so long as I was among them. My father was a heroin addict. When I was 5 years old, he shot himself in our home. After that happened, my grandfather decided to become an active participant in my life. He had the courage to amplify his generosity, to become magnanimous, and to envision a world in which I enjoyed every benefit that my circumstances would have prevented otherwise. After my father died, my grandfather paid for me to attend the best school in town. It changed the trajectory of my life. I was the first person in my family to graduate from college. I'm the only person in my family that has a graduate degree. As an adult, when I thanked him for the difference his intervention had made, his response to me was, "That was the best money I have ever spent." And my grandfather was a man who enjoyed spending money. He had the courage to invest, to offer the best of his resources, time, and experiences, despite the risk of failure or rejection. He had the courage to serve and to claim his influence. When I was in high school, after I graduated, I needed a job to start saving money for college. My grandfather was an executive at Pepsi-Cola. He had enough influence in the company where he could have gotten me any job he would have wanted. But the job I had was a second shift warehouse job, taking cases of soda and stacking them onto pallets all night long. He insisted on driving me to my first day on that job. And during the drive, he said to me, "I hired the guy who runs this facility." And I said to him, "If you're no good, then he should fire your ass." You see, I got you this job, but it is your responsibility to keep it. Others disagreed with his approach. They thought he should have gotten me an easier job, or at least maybe one that was during the day. But he had the courage to serve me by getting me a difficult job to inspire my work ethic. The road I had to travel still wasn't easy. But many of the keys to my courage are copies of keys I received from him.
What I learned from Stosh's talk was that when we let our best images shape the way we see and do life, then we achieve great things.
I left just feeling really inspired. It's just being more courageous in my life. Those things that scare me and I'm like, is that something I think I can do? I just really was inspired by just his message and how he's overcome what he's needed to overcome, so that I just left there saying, okay, what have I been hiding out from? What's that next step that I can take?
A point that Stosh made that will stick with me is when we grow what needs attention, that allows us to take action in a positive way.
I have 2 children. I tell them all the time, "You are my favorite." For as long as I can remember, I could envision a world where they enjoyed every benefit of having a father that I didn't. I wrote my children poems shortly after they were born. Those poems have this line in common: "The pain that I have known, you will never know. I promise." Have the courage to envision the world as it could be. And then have the courage to amplify, to invest, and to serve, to create that world, starting with your favorite person. But then for as many of the other 7.4 billion as possible, both individually and organizationally. I hope that you'll accept this invitation to courage. And I hope that you'll find me later and tell me about the world you envision, especially if I can help you find the courage to create it. Thank you.